Alright guys, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. Please don't post in the chat until I get my posts up, please. We'll see if you guys do that. I have a typo in the title. I don't think I can fix that right away. Alright. Hang on, I gotta put one more post up and then you guys can post all you want. Just give me another minute. I got a typo. Let me fix this. Hold on. One second. Don't post for another few seconds. Okay, post all you want. Okay, I'm probably not going to get a ton of people in here today because it's a Bible study and they want the intel. I'll give you the intel in a second, but being a Bible-believing site, I like to do some praise first. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 I'm going to be back in a second. Give people a chance to come in. I'll be pretty quick coming back. I like to let people have a chance to come in before we get started. I'm going to start with the intel. Cold and cloudy day. It's supposed to warm up and hit 70 or something, but there yet. All right. Let's see how many people came in so far. I gotta wait for it to refresh. Okay, good. All right, intel on what's going on in Israel and the news and stuff. One of these congressman people or a senator or something, a Democrat with Biden, was making nasty public comments officially in a speech about Netanyahu. And Biden went out after that and said, well, he sent me a copy of the speech before he said it, and I approved of it. And then this guy came out and said again that they tried to overturn Netanyahu, in other words, politically, not assassinate him. There's people saying they're going to assassinate him. They're not going to assassinate him. Biden can't, if Biden assassinates him and it gets back, you know, that's it for Biden. For the election, he ain't going to do that. He said he wanted to speak to the Knesset, and this other guy was saying Netanyahu's no good for Israel, the people don't support him, and all this other stuff. Okay. I'm picking up a lot of talk, but not confirmed, but talk, that they're going to use the so-called temporary pier that they're putting into Gaza to bring humanitarian aid in as a landing point for American troops to occupy Gaza. Now, this is not confirmed. Do I suspect something like this could happen? Yes. Do I think it's likely to happen? Yes. They're saying 100,000 troops. Look, that's an awful lot of troops to put in Gaza. That's like, you know, we went in, I think, with 250,000 at the full peak of the war. I don't think they need, where are they going to sleep? Where are they going to put them? You know, they might come in with a few thousand, you know. Like what? Like take 2 Expeditionary Force Marine, those aircraft carrier things they got with vertical takeoff planes and helicopters, and they carry tanks and armored personnel carriers and mobile artillery and all the other stuff that they need. They might take 2 of those or 3 even and put them in Gaza to enforce the ceasefire. The idea is not to come in with overwhelming force so that if Israel decides they're going to kill 100,000, you know, 10 or 3 or 4 or 5,000 American troops, it's a bluff that, you know, Israel's not going to do something like that, and I don't think Israel's going to be very quick to do that. I would not say the 2 witnesses would not burn them up, because I expect they would make barbecue out of them pronto danto, real fast. But Biden could, you see, if Biden tries to bring the troops in another way, how could he do it? Lands at Haifa, the other big port, the big port. And then America goes, and then Israel puts troops on the pier and says, you can't get off the boat. We're not taking your troops in. Or they get off the boat and they're on the pier, and then Israel just puts roadblocks up and says, no, you're not driving through Israel. We don't want that. Go back. And what are they going to do? The Americans are going to start shelling the Israeli roadblock and have a fight with them? Come on. You know how many, I mean, let's say an American troop carrier could even, I don't know, maybe hold 3, 4, 5,000. You're talking about offloading 20 ships. I mean, it would take a few days, or at least a full 24, 48 hours, Israel would stop it. They're not going to. They're going to say, you didn't tell us why you're bringing the troops in. What are they doing here? And America, what's Biden going to say? You know, 80 years ago. You know, what's he going to say? Biden doesn't talk straight. So a small amount of troops, and the alibi would be, we're going to, for the reasons of humanitarian aid. Now, Biden has all of a sudden decided to adapt the Hamas Gaza amount of people killed. At the beginning of the war, Biden made a comment. I remember it very well. He said, look, I'm well aware of the fact that in a war you're going to have collateral damage to civilians, but come on, your numbers are so high. You know, you're saying, you know, you're out of your mind. We know they're not that high. But now all of a sudden he's saying, oh yeah, I'm using the Hamas numbers. See, you got to understand, Biden is serving the gods of the dead, the unclean spirit, Satan, okay? And Biden will do anything they tell him. Anything. Okay? And Satan wants to put an end to Israel because end times is getting dangerously close for him, and he's no longer going to be the God of this world. Okay? So, if he tells Biden to do it, Biden's going to do it. If Biden does it, you know, what if he just goes to Biden and say, look, we got to stop Israel. If you can't stop Israel, I got to put somebody in the White House who will. Now, this is a likely scenario because the pier makes no sense. The game plan for the pier is you bring big ships in, probably with, 50,000 tons of food, and you can't, the pier's like at the beach or Gaza, so maybe they're out in water that's 6 or 8 feet deep, okay? Ships are, big ship could be pulling 30 feet or need 30 feet or so of water. And then if you're in there and you get low tide, you could hit bottom, get stuck on the bottom. They don't want to do that. So the other problem is if they bring big ships in, Hamas is completely insane. You have to understand that, as is the PIJ. And they might fire on the ships. And these are not destroyers or missile carriers. These are, transport vehicles. They're not armed. So with these ships carrying the food, they're going to have to bring, I would think if it's one ship, maybe one destroyer. If it's 3 food ships or 5, they'll probably bring 2, 3 destroyers, maybe more. And have them around there to protect the ships, not to attack Israel, to protect the ships until they could offload. And the ships might be there for several days. So the plan is to take the food off of the big boat, okay, which is probably going to be 300 to 500 foot boat. Take the food off of that and load it onto small boats that are going to be maybe a maximum of 40 or 50 feet. And they're probably not going to take more than 6 or 8 feet of water, so they could get them up to the pier. And when they get up to the pier, they're going to have, I guess, cranes, forklifts, whatever, and they'll offload the boxes of humanitarian aid onto pallets. And then the forklift will bring the pallets onto a truck, probably down at the end of the pier over dry land. They probably don't want to drive the truck out on the pier because of the weight, especially a temporary pier, not a serious pier. So maybe they don't have to. Maybe they can just bring the truck out there. It's possible, highly likely even. bring the truck out there and just offload and try to get directly on the truck. Now the truck has to drive into various places in Gaza to offload the food supply. Well, this is the story of why they got to the parachuting, because the trucks weren't working. Hamas was stopping them from getting food from the trucks. The people in Gaza are not starving. That's a load of crap. On my Telegram today, I put up pictures of Gaza markets with beautiful, nice oranges and fruit and stuff like that. There's food there. It's expensive, but because of Hamas, but there's food there. They're not starving. They got what you might want to say food insecurity, okay? And they can't afford to buy the food that Hamas is making them pay a fortune for. Hamas is trying to starve the civilians to death and blame it on Israel. So the civilians, when they see the food truck with humanitarian aid, they attack it to get water and food. They rip it off the truck before Hamas gets it. So Hamas was going out there and shooting them. They killed a guy. They shoot bullets over the head. They hit him. They beat him. And they take the food and they keep a lot of it for themselves. And then they put a lot of it in stores owned by themselves or their relatives and sell it at exorbitant prices to the Gazan people. Now, they blame all this on Israel. Well, it's them. But the world hates Israel, so they go along with the Hamas, theory. You got it? Now, what would Israel do if America was not harassing them and wanting to give a victory to Hamas? Although, how could you say there's a victory going to Hamas? Gaza looks like Berlin or Dresden or Hamburg at the end of World War II. It's bombed to smithereens. It's a joke to say they have a victory. It's nonsense. Okay. They took hostages. What would Hitler do if they took hostages? He would go and do a concerted effort to grab Hamas soldiers, okay? And he'd, in the media, line them up against the wall and take a machine gun and mow them down. And he would do it every day. That's what he would do. And if the civilians were holding the hostages, like is the case in Gaza, he wouldn't do that. He would grab 100 civilians every day and mow them down with a machine gun until the hostages were returned. Okay, now, what we would do without the interference of America preventing us from winning is we would have stopped the inflow of humanitarian aid. Listen to this. Which is cooking fuel, gasoline, medical supplies and equipment, and edible food and water. We would have stopped it from coming in, period. Okay? End of story. What would have happened? Hamas probably was not that well stocked in food and medical and stuff like that. We just would have shut it down and the war would have stopped probably 3 months ago. Because Hamas would have ran out of food and medical. We go in there and just close all the hospitals. Put, 10 or 15 soldiers in front of the hospital, shut the doors, and it's over. Leave the existing patients in there, leave the medical staff in there, maybe stuff like that. Screen everybody that wants medical treatment. Anybody with a bullet wound or shrapnel wound or stuff like that, you take them into custody and then treat them. So if they go for medical, they have to basically surrender. That's what a sensible army would do. That's what NATO would do. That's what the European Union would do. That's what China would do. That's what Taiwan, Japan, Brazil, Argentina, Italy, Austria, England, everybody would do that. No, they hate us and they're cursing us, the world. And they want that humanitarian aid. It's so important to Biden. There's nobody starving there. They can't effectively bring the food in by truck. Okay? The parachuting onto the beach was a reasonable idea, but it didn't work. Why? Because the beach down there is windy. Okay? So they're trying to do precision bombing. They want to get it on the beach, which is what, a few hundred miles wide. They don't want to put it on land, and they don't want to put it on water. So they started parachuting it in, and the parachutes open right away. When they throw the cargo out of the plane, usually it's in the tail, they have like a conveyor. They push it out and it falls, and I don't know, maybe after 100 feet or something like that, the chutes open. Sometimes there's multiple chutes, sometimes one. And they guesstimate where the chute's going to bring it. But because of the winds, many times the wind pushed the parachute containing the humanitarian aid out into the ocean. And sometimes the fishermen retrieved it, and it was waterlogged by the time they got out there, the food and so forth. So that was a failure. Plus, well, then they got creative and they said, no, we can't have the food in the parachute that long. We have to make a low altitude parachute opening so the wind doesn't have as much time to blow it out. Then they started getting failures to open. Several countries did. And they started having these boxes or crates of humanitarian aid come down with a parachute that did not open, and it was landing on the beach, and the people on the beach were waiting for it before Hamas could steal it or others could steal it, and they were getting hit in the head and killed. So this humanitarian aid of Biden's idea has caused the genocide of 10 Palestinians. And this next idea is idiotic. It's like, Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner created the idea or something like that. It's stupid. It's the same thing they're doing now. It didn't work with the trucks, So something's wrong. And that something wrong is Biden wants to enforce a ceasefire. Now, the problem is, I don't think the pier is going to be ready for several weeks. Now, the ships left maybe 2 days ago. Generally, it's about a 2-week trip. They might make it for the end of Ramadan with the ships here. We finished, I think, just about 1 week. No, not quite. Almost a week of Ramadan. They might get the ships here before Ramadan is, but I don't think they're going to have the pier up and running and functional unless they start launching humanitarian aid ships like today or tomorrow. And they just moor offshore until the pier's finished, but I doubt they're going to do that. Hamas may fire at the pier. If they think this thing is actually going to stop them from being able to steal the food, they may start shooting rockets at the pier. Now, let's assume America puts 3,000 to 5,000 soldiers into Gaza and gives us severe assurances in their minds, that we're not going to let you get attacked anymore. Just stop fighting. The attack's over. What's going to happen? Well, Hamas, yesterday, PIJ, the lesser terrorist group in Gaza, shot 2 missiles at Sderot down by the Gaza border. And they both failed to cause any damage or destruction, but they still got some missiles off. With our soldiers there, who will shoot them for shooting missiles, who will call airstrikes on them, will call artillery strikes on them, will use shoulder-fired rockets on them. They still did it. So what do you think they're going to do with the Americans there? They're going to launch as many rockets as they can freely, because I can guarantee to you that the Americans will not let their troops fire on Gaza, no matter what Gaza does to Israel. if they took Israeli women hostages, again, drug them back to Gaza, got on a stage in front of the American soldiers, and gang raped these women and cut their heads off and tortured them and burned them alive, I tell you, the Americans would not fire one bullet at them. Biden will put them in jail for the rest of their lives if they do it. They will never fire around at Gaza. Just like the UN troops in Lebanon. This I can promise you, this is a given. You can take this to the bank. If they fire on American troops, which they're capable of doing, if the American troops run around, no, you can't fire missiles, you can't, well, what are you going to do about it? Well, you do it and you'll see what happens. That's what their answer will be. They may fire on the American troops, then what will happen? Oh, the American troops will fight back. That's for sure. That you could take to the bank. And that could be a very interesting development. What Biden does at this late stage in the year of recompenses is always going to blow up in his face. Now, let me tell you, how realistic is this? Well, I mean, Biden said he's not going to put boots on the ground. So Netanyahu could say, you're not offloading troops. You said we're not going to put troops on the ground. Go away. And he just puts, a few hundred soldiers up there to block the pier. And what's Biden going to do? Fire at Israel? Yeah, maybe. 50-50. Now, why is the tension between Biden and Netanyahu about to accelerate like a missile taking off? Because Netanyahu is a far more mean, evil, vindictive guy, I don't even want to call him a guy, thing, more so than Biden, who's also a thing. They're both cut out of the same satanic cloth, but Netanyahu is way more vindictive. Biden is, he's stretched so thin with the election in China and Taiwan and North and South Korea and NATO, Ukraine, Europe, EU, Haiti, Venezuela, Guyana, all these things going on. He doesn't have time, nor does I think he have the mental fortitude to be very vindictive. So what will Netanyahu do? Okay, now put on your safety helmets and your seat belts, not literally, because I think I'm about to make you laugh hysterically, okay? But what Netanyahu is going to do is start getting buddy-buddy with Trump. Trump and Netanyahu get along. Oh, they really get along. Those are both cut out of the same demonic cloth, too. But they get along well. Trump talks two-state solution, one-state solution. I don't care as you just reach an agreement with the Palestinians. He doesn't hammer, okay? Now, why does Trump want to get along with Netanyahu? Because Biden just got caught with his pants down, turning on Israel. And Trump could not only pull a lot of the Jewish votes, which there's 6.5 million Jews there, there's probably 1.5 million votes, but he might be able to pick up another 10 or 20 or 30 million votes from the church world. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't kid yourself. He can pick up millions of votes like this. And how's this going to work? I think Netanyahu is going to come out first and say, I support Trump for president. Right away, that hurts Biden, and that is going to get Biden to want to come after Netanyahu. Why would Netanyahu do that? Because Biden is messing with Netanyahu in Israel in the elections, trying to get them to do a vote of no confidence and overthrow him that way. So Netanyahu, I can promise you, is going to return the favor. Netanyahu's doctrine is revenge belongeth to Netanyahu, not the Lord. Netanyahu will go after him, and he'll use Trump. And Trump will play into it. Trump will say, you know, this is our most important ally. We've been allies with Israel for so many decades. And we love Israel, and I love Israel, and Israel loves America. And this Biden is a decrepit piece of garbage, destroying our country, breaking allegiances with our best allies, siding with the Muslims, opening the borders for Muslims and other terrorists to come in, and blah, 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 right? I will support Israel, beyond anything, I mean, he's not going to say I'm going to give Israel aircraft carriers or anything like that. He's not going to say I'm going to put troops in Israel, but he'll put troops in the Middle East if he ever. But prophetically, he's not going to be president. There's no time. So let's not get into a discussion on what's life going to be like with Trump. Okay. What's life going to be like when Netanyahu and Trump become kissing brothers in the elections? And they decide to help each other, which is going to be any day now. Not any week now. It's going to start happening any day. And they're going to start supporting each other. Netanyahu will probably be on Fox News. And I don't think it's possible Netanyahu would fly to America to visit Trump. But he might be afraid to go to America because of what he's going to do. Trump coming to Israel is not likely. Them getting together on live TV with a split screen with Netanyahu here and Trump there, yeah. Secret Service isn't going to want Trump going to Israel with all the wars going on. And you know what? That's not a political move. It's a legitimate thing that they would do with any president. And Trump's going to use Israel as a very mean club to beat Biden with. The only democracy in the Middle East, this, that, blah, blah, blah. We're finished without Israel, all this stuff. And the church is going to gravitate towards Trump with, I'll curse those who curse you, bless those who bless you. Trump is not beyond actually saying that type of thing on American TV. I haven't seen him go that far yet, but he might. He likes to make people think he's a Christian, which I think is pathetic, but he does try that. And that's going to hurt Biden. Oh, it's really going to hurt Biden. You have no idea. And Biden is not going to know what to do. Which he doesn't know what to do already. He's been like this for 2 or 3 months. He wants to punish Israel as much as he can to get Israel to stop the war because he thinks the Houthis in Lebanon will stop. He's also mad at Israel for wanting to prosecute the Lebanese war in full. In other words, invade. Now, some people are saying, well, Israel's not going to really invade Lebanon. They're going to use drones and missiles. They're not. They're going to invade Lebanon. Now, this is what people don't know. Many years ago, I was living here, and I worked for a kibbutz-owned company. It was a kibbutz, and a lot of the guys were military. My boss was a bomber pilot, and the chairman of the board was a retired Air Force guy that ran a missile base in Israel. You ever see anywhere in the mainstream media Israel has missile bases? You think that we don't have surface-to-surface missiles like Hezbollah and Hamas, only real ones, not toys? Of course we have them. There are multiple kinds. The Jericho sling, the arrow, or David's sling rather, the arrow, and these things can be modified to carry a 500-pound warhead. And they're ballistic. You can navigate these things. And they're very precise, and they're smart, and they're not going to get knocked down by Lebanon. People think we don't have missiles. We got missiles. We got all kinds of missiles. The other thing we got is now we're probably at about 325 aircraft that can get up in the sky and shoot missiles that ride under the wing or in the fuselage of a stealth jet that then come out at targets precisely in Lebanon, probably without even going into Lebanese airspace. We could do it right by our border, and we could do it from the Mediterranean Ocean. These missiles generally don't have a big warhead, though. Lebanon hitting Israel's cities with their better missiles. The further away the missile is coming from, the easier it is for Israel to shoot it down. We have the arrow, we have David's sling, we have the Iron Dome, and our jets, our fighter jets, have small missiles, and they use their very sophisticated radar to lock onto incoming missiles and fire their air-to-air missile at the incoming missile and kill it. That's why you hear me sometimes at night or during the day. I'm doing a broadcast outside and I'm saying there's perpetual aircraft in the area. Yeah, that's because they're circling around Israel. If there's a cry that we got incoming missiles, they get the GPS tracking coordinates of the missile from the ground. They turn their computers on. They get an intercept course, and they just haul out and get close enough and they fire. What's close enough? Miles away, probably. Happens very fast. When missiles are coming from a distance, like the Houthis were trying it at Eilat, they gave up. They weren't getting any missiles in. When we have that much time, it's very easy to get the missiles to predict the target and lock on and fire, and that's it. Because these are more sophisticated missiles, they're not Katyushas, which means you have a bigger target. And you got a lot more time. Missiles coming in from Gaza, the people get sometimes less than 15 seconds. Something coming in from Yemen to Israel, they probably have, 10 minutes or something like that. They got a long time. 3 or 4 minutes anyway, but that's what's there's another theory that what the Lebanese are going to do is pelt missiles down on the communities by the border of Lebanon, Kiryat Shmona and places like that. Yeah, this is something they could do, but it's 95% evacuated or 98%. It's very mostly evacuated, so they're not going to cause any loss of life. They're going to cause property damage. If that becomes their stupid goal, which I doubt it ever will be, That, that if that's their best shot, go ahead. It's not going to do them much good. Their idea of what they want to do is hit, this is maybe not the truth, but what they're conveying is hit the big cities like Haifa, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem with sophisticated missiles, of which they don't have very many. And these missiles require a missile launcher, which is basically a big truck with a bed on it, a trailer that's a flat boy, a low boy, flat boy, and as soon as they fire the missile, that truck's going to be hit with artillery, other missiles, or bombs, or all the above. They're going to be a concerted effort to destroy those missile launchers. So they're going to get pretty much one launch off a missile launcher. That's it. And they're going to be getting devastated. Israel may decide to take out their electric grid for the whole country, and that will interfere with their communications and other things. Like, how do you pump gas at a gas station if you don't have electricity? You see what I'm saying? Israel will attack them from the sea, they'll attack them from the air, they'll attack them from land, and they'll shoot missiles at them from Israel. Is Iran going to send a bunch of soldiers in to help Lebanon? Zero chance. Iran's scared to death about sending their soldiers outside of Iran. They have serious revolution problems. They don't know what kind of retaliation they're going to get from Israel. Israel goes in there and freely bombs them, hits a gas pipeline recently, hit oil refineries, hit all kinds of targets for weapons, factories, warehouses. Israel will then start bombing the Iranian political buildings, the military headquarters, and things like that. They'll bomb airfields and destroy lots of their planes, stuff like this. And the stupidity of this is the way Iran would have to do it is take troops, bring them into Iraq, bring them into Syria, then bring them into Lebanon, and then down to the border. But Israel will definitely attack the troops once they get into Syria. They may even attack them in Iraq. So what does that mean? It means they send 30 or 40 jets into Syria where the troops are coming in, and they just start strafing, missile attacks, bomb attacks, everything. Drone attacks, everything. And attempt to do a massacre of the Iranian troops. That's all they do. That's it. So you're going to see Trump and Netanyahu get together, and you're going to see Biden consider his threat from Netanyahu and Trump to be dire. Netanyahu was obviously not afraid of Biden. Okay, now that doesn't mean Netanyahu's right, but he's obviously not afraid at all. He sees Biden as a buffoon that's going to be around for a few more months and then forget about him. He goes off into the dustbin of history, and Trump gets in, and Trump and Netanyahu hit it off. Then Trump will come to Israel. Probably one of his first moves as president would be, but it's not going to last that long. All right. Is there a chance that Trump comes to Israel before he's president? He could, seriously, it might happen. It might happen. Israel would have to make a lot of security arrangements for him, which Netanyahu would be more than happy to do. It would probably be a meeting at the airport. Maybe not. Maybe they'd take him to Jerusalem, but Trump would be extremely well protected. There'd be dozens of jets overhead at all times. American and Israeli, there would be probably 15 or 20 iron domes set up around the airport. Yeah, I mean, it's something that could happen. And will that help Trump? Oh, yeah. He'll shoot up in the polls. You know, he'll mock Biden for the Red Sea closure, for troops getting attacked in Iraq and Syria, for letting Iran push America around, for leaving the border open, all of this stuff. He'll just annihilate Biden. That's what I think is going to happen. America is going to be turning on Israel more and more. Trump cannot stop Biden from doing bad things to Israel. All he can do is politically make things negative in voting polls for Biden, but he has no material power to do anything beyond that. He's not a seated president. He's just a civilian. But because he's a former president, he gets in the news all he wants, and he's the Republican nominee. Be right back. My mom's a girl.
I am miserably cold.
Well, it's gonna get sunnier as
The sun is out, but it's still freaking cold. There's still some overcast, and I am just miserably cold.
I know, I am too. You're right, it's cold now.
That's an awful lot of breath there, Mr. Bitterman. Don't you be telling me how my food is crap.
I kick against the steaks like this.
What?
I kick against the steak meat at times because it's not your
No,
cooking,
you
it's the
told me
meat.
my food was crap because you were eating too much bread.
Oh. Now, France, Germany, and one other EU country, I forgot, are taking up the slack with Ukraine and giving them all kinds of weapons as of late. Macron of France seems to have reneged on his idea of putting troops into Ukraine. I don't think he's got the guts for that. Macron is a gutless wonder, but he's scared of Russia. Very scared. And America has trouble with Congress getting weapons into Ukraine, getting the money. Could Israel handle a war against the United States, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, Turkey, Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, etc., all at the same time? Yes. How would that work? The glory of God of Israel, which is the angel Michael and the two witnesses, how do you think it's going to work? Which brings me to Israel's never going to get the land back based on their military and stuff. That's not going to happen. Now I'm going to do something different today that I normally don't ever do. And I don't think I've ever done it. I'm going to go through the scriptures regarding the great day of the Lord. And we're going to see how this works. Is it just one great day of the Lord? Or is there more than one? And I'm curious about that. I haven't had enough time this morning to work it all out. So I don't know. Some of you guys like to make fun of me. You call me grandpa, you call me an old man. Let me put it in perspective to show you how stupid you really are, okay? Do you want to die young? No, it's this famous military song where it goes in the song, God, make me dead before you make me old. Why don't you, if you feel that way, pray to the Lord to kill you before you get old? Realize how stupid you are now? Okay. So the way this started this morning is the Lord directed me to go to Zephaniah. And we're going to start there. And then I'm going to go to other scriptures and I'm going to put them into Hebrew. I'm going to take the Hebrew and translate it correctly into English for you. And we're going to have an interesting time trying to resolve this. I haven't gotten to the bottom of it yet, so I don't know one way or the other. We may not finish it today, but I will finish it. Zephaniah 1:1. The word of the Lord of Jehovah, which came unto Zephaniah, the son of Cushi, the son of Gedaliah, the son of Amariah, the son of Hezekiah, in the days of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah. I will utterly consume all, the word things is added in, from off the land. Now this is a funny word for land. It's not ha'eretz, which could mean the land of Israel or the world at large. This is a word that really means the ground or the soil of the ground. Or, the earth, like, saith Jehovah. Interesting. So when you use this word, which is Strong's number 127, it's Admah. And it's not country specific at all. Okay? I will consume, and the word for consume is soph. How does Strong flip it into English? Let's see. Consume, terminate. Okay, consume is good enough. Consume man, and the word for man is Adam, which is a good word for man. And beast, and that should be, beast, animals. I will consume the fowls of the heaven and the fishes of the sea, and the stumbling blocks with the wicked, and I will cut off man from off the soil or the land, not the land of Israel, saith Jehovah. Now, why he's killing the animals, I'm not entirely sure of here. And the stumbling blocks are people like Biden, the churches, the rabbis, this type of thing, false religion leaders. I will also stretch out my hand upon Judah and upon all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and I will cut off the remnant of Baal from this place. And the name of the Chemarims with the priests, which is Kohanim. Now, the word for remnant is she'er. The residue of the rest of them type rest, But the curious thing here is when we get into, the great day of the Lord, Zechariah 14, Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 8 to 11, there's a temple in the second Exodus pretty plainly appears to have already been accomplished already. Here we read of Judah and Jerusalem, which means we didn't get any of the land back yet. That's the land we have today. Very interesting. And them that worship the host of heaven upon the housetops, and them that worship and swear by Jehovah, and that swear by Malcolm, that's some old stupid God of the dead, and them that have turned back from Jehovah, and those that have not sought Jehovah, nor inquired of him. Well, these are your witches. They're not going to ask Jehovah for anything. The demons will kill them if they try a move like that. Or they think the demons will kill them. The demons may not have the power for that. If the demons are in them, they could throw them in the fire, bang them into a wall, things like that. Hold thy peace at the presence of Adonai Jehovah, for the day of the Lord is at hand. For the Lord hath prepared sacrifice. He hath bid his guests. So it says here, the day, let's break the Hebrew down, Yom, the day, Yehovah, near. At hand is near. It shall come to pass in the day of the Lord's sacrifice. Now we got a new term here. The day, Yom, Yehovah, sacrifice, which is Sabak. Sabak with a It's normally like a sacrifice as an offering at the temple, the altar, but I expect it doesn't have to only be used that way. And now we're not reading the great day of the Lord, we're reading the day of the Lord's sacrifice. And it goes on, it says that I will punish the princes and the king's children, and all such are as clothed with strange apparel. King's children. We don't have a king. We got Netanyahu who thinks he's a king. Now, let's read this. In the same day, this is Zephaniah 1:9. In the same day also will I punish all those that leap on the threshold, which fill their master's house with violence and deceit. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith Jehovah, that there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, that's Jerusalem, and a howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills thereof. The crashing is Sheber. It's hard to get an exact meaning for this word. A fracture, it could mean breaking of a wall or a military line, maybe. Howl, you inhabitants of Motkesh, for all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off. I told you that this was in Ezekiel 34, the cattle and his cattle. They're big fat cattle pushing against the little weak cattle, the poor people and the rich business people. And I told you the business people would be cut off, with the 2/3 getting cut off, along with the shepherds, which would be the government, the rabbis, the congregation pastors, and the church people and leaders and stuff like that. That's interesting. And it shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem with candles. And that means he's going to take a hard look to know who's his, who he wants to save, and who are the bitter figs that can't be eaten. So he's going to, after he searches Jerusalem, he's going to punish the men that are settled on their lees, that say in their heart, Jehovah will not do good, neither will he do evil. Therefore, their goods shall become a booty, and their houses a desolation. They shall also build houses, but not inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards, but not drink the wine thereof. Now, what you don't know is there's a lot of wealthy people here, because the banks don't pay any kind of interest to speak of, that have built houses and they don't rent them. They build nice houses. They don't want to rent them because they don't want the houses, damaged and run down. They try to sell them, but the prices are so high in these years, there's not enough buyers that can afford the things. Now here we go. The great day of Jehovah is near. It is near. And hasteth greatly even the voice of the day of the Lord. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly. That is Ezekiel 34, which is not Gog and Magog. It's like for these days. So the mighty man's going to cry mightily. See, the rich, the government people, the big shot rabbis, the pastors, all this stuff. A day of wastedness and desolation, a day of darkness. That's interesting. We're going to have to work on the day of darkness and gloominess. A day of clouds and thick darkness. But that takes us to Isaiah 60 verse 1. Arise, shine, your light has come. Darkness covers the whole earth, and Kosek and deep darkness, So I can still line this up with Zechariah 12, but it's saying the great day of the Lord. But Ezekiel 38 and 39 is never identified in those two chapters as the great day of the Lord. But Zechariah 14 is. And that's interesting. Let's keep going. I'll get us to the bottom of this one way or another. I don't think the Lord would have directed me to start digging into this if I was correct that there's only one great day of the Lord, or one day of the Lord. I think there's more than one. I'm not sure. This is new for me, so we'll explore together. And that'll be a good teaching lesson for you to be a teacher, because you'll see how I peel it back, the layers. A day of the trumpet, an alarm against the fenced cities. Now this is very curious. The fenced cities and against the high towers. Now, let's go to Ezekiel 38 and see if we've got a problem fitting it in to be just one great day of the Lord. Son of man, set thy face against Gog and the land of Magog, the chief of the princes of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. And say, thus saith, Jehovah, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. This is probably the chief powers of the air, the demon that runs that area. And I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, that would probably be famine, and bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, and all of them handling swords. And we see Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, with shields, Gomer and his bands, and Togomar, blah, blah, Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. If the many days thou shalt be visited in the latter years, okay, thou shalt come unto the land that is brought back from the sword. That's not now. Maybe in near future, but right now we're not brought back from the sword. And is gathered out of many people. You could say that, but there's a lot more Jews and Israelites outside of Israel than there are inside Israel, way more. Against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste, but it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm, thou shalt be like a cloud, to cover the land, thou and all thy bands and many people with thee. Thus saith Adonai Yehovah, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. Now we have a problem. Because we were just reading about fenced cities in Zephaniah 1:16, and now we got them coming up against unwalled villages. Will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls. Without walls. We got inconsistency here. What's the word walls? 23:36. It's a wall, like we have walls with the Arabs, with Gaza, and, the West Bank and stuff like that. That dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates, to take a spoil, to take a prey, to turn thy hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods, that dwell in the midst of the land, Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish, with all the young lions, whereof shall say unto thee, Art thou come to take a spoil? Thou hast gathered thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take a great spoil. So Israel's now rich, the people here. That's not going to be the case when we go back to Zephaniah, as I'll show you. I believe. Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say unto Gog, and thus saith Adonai Yehovah, in that day, Now, Ezekiel 8-11 is not exactly a day. Neither is the book of Joel, which is referring to the great day of the Lord in the book of Joel, Joel chapters 1, 2, and 3. In that day when my people Israel dwell safely, shalt thou not know it. Now, Zechariah 12, Jacob's trouble, they're clutching their guts, their faces are turning pale, they're scared, they're hurting in their stomach like a woman giving birth. And great is Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. So there's a lot of inconsistencies. I don't think our work is done yet with prophecy. And thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts, thou and many people with thee, all of them riding upon horses, a great company and a mighty army. And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land, that the Goyim, the heathen, may know me when I shall be sanctified in thee, O God, before their eyes. That means he's going to kill him, I expect. Thus saith Adonai Yehovah, art thou he of whom I have spoken in old time by my servants the prophets of Israel, which prophesied in those days many years that I would bring thee against them. So this has been prophesied by the prophets, and it has. It shall come to pass at the same time when God shall come against the land of Israel, saith Adonai Yehovah, that my fury shall come up in my face, for in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel, so that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven and the beasts of the field and all creeping things that creep upon the earth and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence. We better check the word for presence. They twisted it. Panim. They shall shake when they see his face. This could be the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man. It could be. And the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep plains will fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground, and I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, saith Adonai Yehovah. Every man's sword shall be against his brother. This doesn't sound like Zechariah 12, because the two witnesses burned them up in Zechariah 12. And I will plead against him with pestilence. Now, when we explore this, we may very well find out that there really is just one great day of the Lord. Remember that. I don't know which way this is going to go yet. And I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood. But it's going to be a good teaching exercise. Teach the teachers. And I will rain upon him and upon his bands and upon the many people that are with him, an overflowing rain and great hailstones, fire and brimstone. Don't really see that in Zechariah 12. We don't really see that in Ezekiel 8 to 11, I don't think. Unless I'm missing something. Anyway, let's keep going. We don't see it in Zechariah 14. And I will be known in the eyes of many nations, and they shall know that I am Jehovah. Therefore, thou son of man, prophesy against Gog and Magog. Behold, I'm against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach. And we don't see, well, anyway. And I will turn thee back and leave but the sixth part of thee, and cause thee to come up from the north parts, and will bring thee upon the mountains of Israel. Now this is in the original text in Hebrew. It's in the 1611 King James, the King James 1599 Geneva, and it's saying that of the nations that have soldiers come to attack Israel, only a sixth of their nation in terms of population is going to survive. And that'll generally cause the people to have to go into captivity, because it's about, 17% of the population or something like that. And you're not going to be able to run a reasonably modern city with such a small population. Plus the damage and destruction, I guess. And I will smite the bow out of thy left hand, and will cause thy arrows to fall at thy right hand. Thou shalt fall upon the mountains of Israel, thou and all thy bands, and the people that is with thee. I will give thee unto the ravenous birds, every sort, and to the beasts of the field to be devoured. This is a curse under the law, that you just lay on the ground and the birds and the beasts eat you. Thou shalt fall upon the open field, for I have spoken it, saith Adonai Jehovah. I will send a fire on Magog and among them that dwell carelessly in the isles. That sounds like the daughter of Babylon, where he kindles fires in and about their cities. And they shall, America, they shall know that I am Jehovah. So will I make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel. And I will not let them pollute my holy name anymore. So now he's not using the word Judah and Jerusalem, he's saying Israel. So it gives me the indication the 10 tribes are back, and we've had the second Exodus. Got it? It's a very logical conclusion. I will make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel. And it says Israel. That's the word used, Yisrael. Behold, it is come and it is done. Adonai Jehovah. This is the day whereof I have spoken. This is the day. So it makes us think logically that this is just one day of the Lord. That's a decent conclusion, but let's kick against it and find the truth. Is it really just one or is it multiple? Honestly, I'm not sure. But this is how you learn. And then when you finish this, then you know you're right, or you should. And they that dwell in the cities of Israel shall go forth and shall set on fire and burn the weapons, both the shield and the bucklers. So the weapons are being burned up here. So this makes me think, since it's Roman era weapons and they're using it for firewood, that they turn their spears and swords into plowshares and, agricultural instruments. And then they turned them back at the Gog and Magog into weapons. And Scripture supports this. So that they shall take no wood out of the field, the forest. And then it talks about I will give, and it shall come to pass in that day, it's a day, that I will give unto Gog a place there of graves in Israel, the valley of the passengers on the east at the sea, and it shall stop the noses of the passengers, and there shall they bury Gog and all his multitude, and they shall call the valley of Hamagog, okay. And now we're talking about 7 months burying them. Now, this isn't exactly what happens in Zechariah 12 at all, because in Zechariah 12, the 2 witnesses burn them up, and in Malachi 4, after the Son of Righteousness appears in the clouds with healing in his extremities, and we get changed, we jump out of the stall like a calf, and frolic about like a baby calf. The wicked are ashes under our feet, and we walk over them, so you don't have the problem of the dead bodies. The ashes don't defile the land. So this goes on for 7 months. They don't collect firewood. And then they have special people to bury them. And of course, you're unclean when you touch the dead or part of the dead's body. And then we see, speak on, in verse 17 of Ezekiel 39, speak unto every feathered fowl and every beast of the field, assemble yourselves and come, gather yourselves on every side to my sacrifice that I do sacrifice for you. Even a great sacrifice upon the mountains of Israel, that you may eat flesh and drink blood to the birds and the beasts. And they're eating the blood and the flesh of the warriors attacking us and their animals. Drink blood till you be drunk of my sacrifice, which I have sacrificed for you. See, my interpretation of this is, this was a blood sacrifice, and he made a covenant with the birds and the beasts to submit themselves unto man, and then you're going to get the animals are going to live in peace with each other, the cow and the bear and the lion and the sheep or whatever, right? The wolf and the sheep, whatever. The lion's going to eat straw. So they're not going to be killing each other. So he's, restoring the animals back to their place that they used to be, where they were submitted to people, and the animals may talk again. Thus you shall be filled. Now, when you hear a talking parrot talk, people think it's normal, but if you heard a cat or a dog talk, you would freak out, right? Okay, so maybe God left the parrots talking as a reminder of what's going to happen. Thus you shall be filled at my table with horses and chariots and mighty men, with all men of war, saith Adonai Jehovah, and I will set my glory among the heathen, and all the heathens shall see my judgment that I have executed, and my hand that I have laid upon them. So the house of Israel shall know. Now we're talking the house of Israel. So they're there. You see my point? The house of Israel shall know that I am Jehovah Elohim from that day and forward. So they got to be there. I don't understand how this works if they're not there. You know what I'm saying? And they're not in Zechariah 12. And the heathen shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity for their lawlessness, because they trespassed against me. Therefore hid I my face from them, and gave them into the hands of their enemies. So fell they all by the sword, according to their uncleanness and according to their transgressions have I done unto them, and hid my face from them. Now this gets confusing. Therefore thus saith Adonai Jehovah, now will I bring again the captivity of Yaakov, and have mercy upon the whole house of Israel, and will be jealous for my holy name. So we just heard about Israel, but maybe Israel knows about it even though they're not there, because now we're talking about the second Exodus. So this is like, since it doesn't identify Ezekiel 38 and 39 as Gog and Magog, or the great day of the Lord, I should say, the great day of the Lord, is it possible that this is Zechariah 12? I don't see it. Let's keep looking. After they have borne their shame and all their trespasses whereby they have trespassed against me, when they dwell safely in their land, and don't make them afraid, when I have brought them again from the people, and gathered them out of their enemies' lands, and am sanctified in them in the sight of many nations. So maybe this is just a figure of speech talking, sort of. Then shall they know that I am Jehovah Elohim, which caused them to be led into captivity among the heathen, but I have gathered them unto their own land, and have left none of them any more there. Neither will I hide my face any more from them, for I have poured out my spirit upon the house of Israel, saith Adonai Jehovah. Well, we see the pouring out of the Spirit in Zechariah 12. You see the issues coming up here? Is there a way to fit Zechariah 12 into Ezekiel 38 and 39? I haven't found it. Is the explanation that there's more than one great day of the Lord? You know, I'm afraid that I'm going to show you something in a bit. I'm afraid that might be the case. It's not easy, guys. This is tough. It looks on the surface easy, but you got to really kick. The way I learned end times correctly many years ago is I tried different doctrines, and then I tried to, some were from churches and some I made up on my own, and I tried to rip them down, and I was able to. And then when I finally found the doctrine I couldn't rip down, they arrived at the truth. And that's what we're doing here today. We're going to rip at this and arrive at the truth. And it's a great teaching lesson. And I honestly don't know the outcome of this yet. But I expect a lot of you will consider it fun. I'm going to check the chat real quick and see if I've got to throw the garbage out. Let's see. I'm going to fly through this. I don't have Prophet Abraham, Father Abraham, on the agenda today. I can't afford to deviate off my topic because I won't get done. Please don't post in non-English languages and just take it down. Okay, I got rid of the garbage. Let's go back to Zephaniah. We were in 1:16. A day of trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities. So this really doesn't fit with Ezekiel 38:39 at all. And against the high towers. And I will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against Jehovah, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of Jehovah's wrath. So we got now the day of Jehovah's wrath. The word for wrath is a bra. This outburst, okay. But the whole land, now this is the word Eretz, okay, which could mean the land of Israel or it could mean the earth. But the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy, for he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land. Well, they shall be ashes under your feet. So that's Malachi 4. So the whole land, which could mean the land of Israel, shall be devoured. And the word there is Strong's 398. Akal, it very well could mean burned up. And we got a match here with Zechariah 12, because they shall burn them up on the right hand and the left hand. And then in Malachi 4, they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet. And then we see here, but the whole land shall be burned up by the fire of his jealousy. He shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land. Now, he's not getting rid of the good ones. He's getting rid of the bad shepherds, as in Ezekiel 34. He's getting rid of the 2/3 in Zechariah 13, verses 8 and 9. Now we'll go to Zephaniah 2. Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation, desired, not desired. That's us. Before the decree bring forth, before the day pass, as the chaff before the fierce anger of Jehovah come upon you, before the day of the Lord, before the day of the Lord. What do we, you see, it's hard. It's not so easy. Before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you. So it's not declaring it the day of the Lord, it's saying before the day of the Lord's anger hits you or comes upon you. Seek you, Jehovah, all you meek of the earth. Those are the ones that are going to survive the Zechariah 12, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be you shall be hid. No, I jumped to chapter. I gotta find where I was. It may be you shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger, for Gaza shall be forsaken. That means they're not going to when you forsake something, you don't longer pay attention to it, you don't support it or fight for it. And that's pretty much what's happened to Gaza already. How curious this is. And Ashkelon a desolation. They shall drive out Ashdod at the noonday, and Ekron shall be rooted up. Ashdod and Ashkelon are pretty well messed up from all the missiles and rockets from Gaza. Woe unto the inhabitants of the sea coast, the nation of the Cherethites. The word of Jehovah is against you, O Canaan, the land of the Philistines. That's probably Gaza. I will even destroy thee, that there shall be no inhabitant. So nobody's going to be living in Gaza now. With all the pictures of the ruins in Gaza, it makes a lot of sense. This is now thing I'm looking at here. Let's keep going. And the seacoast shall be dwellings and cottages for shepherds and for folds of flocks. The seacoast could be the Philistine seacoast, or it could also be the Israeli seacoast in general. And the coast shall be for the remnant of the house of Judah. Not the house of Israel. The house of Israel's not here. The remnant of Judah is those that survived Zechariah 12:10. Malachi 3, who can stand in that day? See? You starting to get this? They shall feed their corn in the houses of Ashkelon. Shall they lie down in the evening? For Jehovah Elohim shall visit them and turn away the captivity. I have heard the reproach of Moab and the revelings of the children of Ammon, whereby they have reproached my people and magnified themselves against their border. Sounds good for today. Therefore, as I live, saith Jehovah of armies, Elohim Yisrael, surely Moab shall be as Sodom and Gomorrah, of Ammon as Gomorrah. In other words, burned up places. Even the breeding of nettles and salt pits, and a perpetual desolation, the residue of my people, the ones that are left, the 1/3, shall spoil them, and the remnant of my people shall possess them. That doesn't exactly pop up in Ezekiel 38 and 39, does it? No. Doesn't. It's generally prophesied in the Bible, so it could apply to that, but it does lend itself, I think, pretty good to the battle in Zechariah 12:10 and Malachi 2 and 3. 3 and 4, Malachi 3 and 4, rather. This shall they have for their pride, because they have reproached and magnified themselves against the people of Jehovah of armies. Jehovah will be terrible unto them. He will famish all the gods of the earth, and men shall worship him, every one from his place, even all the isles of the heathen. You Ethiopians also, you shall be slain by my sword. And he will stretch out his hand against the north and destroy Assyria and will make Nineveh a desolation and dry like a wilderness, and flocks shall lie down in the midst of her. The beasts of the heathen, both the cormorant and the bittern, shall lodge in the upper lintels of it. Their voice they shall sing in the windows. Desolation shall be in the thresholds, for he shall uncover the cedar work. This is the rejoicing city that dwelt carelessly, that said in her heart, I am, and there is none beside me. How is she become a desolation, a place for beasts to lie down, and every one that passeth by her shall hiss and wag his hand. This sounds like it's a reference to the daughter of Babylon, America, which does evil to Israel in these days. Now we're in Zephaniah 3, verse 1. Woe to her that is filthy and polluted, to the oppressed city. She obeyed not the voice, she received not correction. She trusted not in Jehovah, she drew not near to her God, Elohim. Her princes within her are roaring lions. Her judges are evening wolves. They gnaw not the bones till tomorrow. Till the morrow, the bone marrow. Marrow, I think, is marrow, the bone marrow. Her prophets are light, I mean, they're not worth much, and treacherous. These are the rabbis, pretty much. Messianic congregation leaders are the same garbage. Treacherous persons, her priests have polluted the sanctuary. So now we have the temple. They have done violence to the law. It could be that we have a temple before. It could happen. Because we see it, chapter 3, Malachi, Elijah was, Malachi 3, Elijah's training the Levites to make the sacrifices acceptable. So we could have the temple. It wouldn't have the glory of God yet. We could have it. So Zechariah 12:10, when it happens, we could already have a temple. Very likely we already do. The just Lord is in the midst thereof. He will not do lawlessness. Every morning doth he bring his judgment to light. He faileth not, but the unjust knoweth no shame. I have cut off the heathen. Their towers are desolate. I made their streets waste, that none passes by. Their cities are destroyed, so that there is none inhabitant. Now, that's sort of what happened to Gaza already. I said, surely thou wilt fear me, thou wilt receive instruction, so their dwelling should not be cut off. Howsoever I punished them, but they rose early and corrupted all their doings. Therefore wait you upon me, saith Jehovah, until the day. that I rise up to the prey, for my determination is to gather the heathens, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my anger, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured, burned up with the fire of my jealousy. Well, this could definitely be the case. We don't read about it in Zechariah 12 and Malachi 3 or 4, but it could be. We know America is going to be burned up by fire. We know the nations that he scattered the Israelites into, which would have to be about 125 if you go back through history. But if you're going to just use the current amount of Israelites in the nations, you're probably still going to have 60 or more, 80 or something, the line. I think you got to go back to the countries that they were scattered into many centuries ago. For then will I turn to the people a pure language, that they may all call the name of Jehovah, call on the name of Jehovah, to serve him with one consent. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, even the daughter of my dispersed, shall bring mine offering. In that day shalt thou not be ashamed for all thy doings wherein thou hast transgressed against me. For then I will take away out of the midst of thee them that rejoice in thy pride. That's the rich fat cats and stuff, Ezekiel 34 again. And thou shalt no more be haughty because of my holy mountain, which is not yet here. That's Mount Zion. I will also leave in the midst of thee an afflicted and poor people, and they shall trust in the name of Jehovah. This is what you see. The feeble shall be like David. This is what we see. The poor, downtrodden people, the ones that get the eternal life. The remnant of Israel shall not do lawlessness, nor speak lies. Neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth, for they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid. Sing, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O Israel. Be glad and rejoice with all the heart, O daughter of Jerusalem. Well, we got the daughter of Zion, we got Israel, we got the daughter of Jerusalem. The daughter of Jerusalem makes me think more, we're looking at Zechariah 12. Jehovah hath taken away thy judgment. He hath cast out thine enemy. He gets rid of the enemy. The king of Israel, even Jehovah, is in the midst of thee. Thou shalt not see evil anymore. Well, the glory God of Israel was in the temple, yes. In that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, fear thou not, and to Zion, let not thine hands In that day, there we go, that day, it's a day. Ezekiel 38, 39 is more than a day. Zechariah 8 to 11 is more than a day. It's a long period. In that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, fear thou not, and to Zion, let not thy hand be slack. Jehovah Elohim in the midst of thee, he will save thee. He will save. And the word for save is Yasha. Salvation used better than save. But that's rotten English. But that gets the meaning across better. That's the root of Yeshua's name, was Yasha, which is salvation. He will rejoice over thee with joy. He will rest in his love. He will joy over thee with singing. I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly, who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee, and I will save her that halteth. That's the feeble shall be like the house of David, you see, in Zechariah 12. And gather her that was driven out, and I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. At that time will I bring you again, even the time that I will gather you, for I will make you a name and a praise among people of the earth when I turn back your captivity before your eyes, saith Jehovah. See, that's not, it's after Zechariah 12:10. Well, 12 and 13, you could say too. Then we get into the second Exodus, like Ezekiel 20, starting in verse 33, Jeremiah 23, and I think Jeremiah 16 or 17. So we got a pretty good match here with Zechariah 12. But let's go back to, if I can make this cooperate, Zephaniah 1. And the problem we have is in Zephaniah, which is sounding very, 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 very good to match Zechariah 12 and 13. In Zephaniah 1:7, hold thy peace at the presence of Adonai Jehovah, for the day of the Lord is at hand, for the Lord hath prepared a sacrifice. Now, is that referencing a future date? Maybe that's the explanation. Let's take a poke at this. For the day Yom Jehovah at hand. Karob, near. No, it doesn't say at hand at all. Yad is hand. It doesn't have that word here. It's Karab. It's confusing, you see. to say the day of the Lord is at hand, for the Lord hath prepared a sacrifice, he hath bid his priests, and it shall come to pass in the day of Jehovah's sacrifice, and it shall come to pass in that day, saith Jehovah, so really you have to leave room for he was referencing to the future, or this is this. It gets thick. You see what I'm telling you? Now, I found some other scriptures that make it even more complicated. Jeremiah 30, verse 7. We'll just keep poking at this till we get it right, okay? It may take a couple of days. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble. So what it's saying here is that day is great. That's like saying great day of the Lord. Let me go into the Hebrew and see what it's really saying. Of course, they mess with the translations, unknowingly or knowingly. Hine, okay, that's meaning it's coming, and then it says ki, which would mean that. So it's hine, it comes that, gadol, great, the day. So let me give it to you better. Hine, here comes ki, okay, here comes that great, the day. All right, it is interesting. Now the next word, it just really like saying he, meaning the day is being spoken of as a he. She or he. Okay, he, oops. What? From nothing. He from nothing, Mayan. The ayin word is nothing, ain, I should say, it's really ain. The ma gives it a from nothing. The next word is kimo. Thus, time and time, trouble or distress. Time, trouble, and distress. He, this is Yaakov. He, Yaakov. From salvation. Let's go to the English. He shall be salvationed out of it is a better translation, not saved. It's a related word, of course. Yaakov's troubles. Yeah. Goes on, for it shall come to pass in that day. Gog and Magog is not a one-day event. The great day, the Zechariah 12 is. All right, check a few other verses I made note of. We'll do Isaiah 11. We're never going to get all this done today, so there'll be a point where we're going to stop at some point. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse. That's David's father. That's the line of David. And a branch shall grow out of the root of the line of David, which is Yeshua, the branch. And the Spirit of Jehovah shall rest upon him. Now listen to all the gifts of the Spirit Yeshua had. The Spirit of wisdom, understanding, counsel, might, knowledge, fear of the Lord, and shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of Jehovah. I know what that feels like, I think. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears, but he'll be led of the Spirit. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with lawlessness for them, and punish with equity, with fairness, punish with fairness the meek of the land, and he shall smite the land with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. The rod of his mouth and breath of his lips is the word of the Lord going forth. The word of the Lord convicts them. And the righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf shall also dwell with the lamb. Here we go. This is the Gog and posts right after Gog and Magog. And the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. Because they're going to submit to the people again. And the little kid's got nothing better to do than spend a lot of his time with the animals, and the animals leap that up, and they'll be nice to the little one. They'll know he's a child. And the cow and the bear shall feed their young ones. In other words, they're going to be eating grains. They're going to feed them together. Their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. And the suckling child shall play on the hole of the asp. An asp would be a very venomous snake with big fangs and poison and all that. And the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice den. What in the world is a cockatrice again? Some kind of poisonous viper snake or something. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of Jehovah, as the water covered the sea. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for a sign of the people. Now this sounds like the sign of the Son of Man coming in the clouds. An ensign is is a sign. It's nes in the Hebrew. Something lifted up, like a signal. Is you getting the idea yet? A token, a banner, lifted up type thing. Sign of the Son of Man in the clouds. For an ensign of the people. To it shall the heathen seek, and rest shall be glorious, and his rest shall be glorious. Well, they're going to see Yeshua in the clouds like the lightning from the east to the west, but they're not going to be converted if they're not already believers. They're not going to get eternal life. They're not getting, but they could get faith in Yeshua. That's not eternal life at the same time. Got it? It'll lead to eternal life. And it shall come to pass in that day that Jehovah shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which he left from. Now that's what I've been teaching when Yeshua appears, and that's in Zechariah 12:10, and we win the battle. The two words is burn them up. Right after that starts the second Exodus, which is, it shall come to pass in that day, there you go, that Jehovah shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, that's the Asia, China or something, and from Hamat, and from the islands of the sea. North and South and Central America and the Caribbean could very well be islands of the sea. And he shall set up a sign for the heathen, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Well, this is your second Exodus, nothing but. So this sounds like Zechariah 12. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. The two sticks shall be one in my hand. Ezekiel 37. But they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines. So what's the word fly mean? To fly. Okay, let's see how Strong's uses the word in English. They shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines towards the west, that's Gaza. They shall spoil them of the east, that would be Judah, Syria. They shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, would be like northwest Saudi Arabia and Jordan. The child of Ammon, that's the capital of Jordan, shall obey them. And Jehovah shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea. And with his mighty wind shall he shake his hand over the river, and shall smite it in the seven streams, and make men go over it dry shod. Well, that could very well happen. And there shall be a highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, as it was to Israel in the day that he that he came out of. See, he is Israel again. The word he came up out of the land of Egypt. So it's we've uncovered more depictions of Zechariah 12. That's what we've done. I haven't definitively concluded anything yet about how many great days of the Lord there are going to be in the Bible, but we did have a good confirming study on Zechariah 12 and Gog and Magog, so it was definitely worth something. And we'll keep trying and kicking against this and make sure we got it down. That's all. I have a feeling we'll find out. I think we got it down, but we'll find out. Let me see if I got to throw the garbage out again.
I'm gonna hop in the shower. Don't use the water, please.
Okay. Got a lot of garbage in here. Hold on. Get rid of them. At least just block them. Someone wrote Solomon's Temple. I don't know what your implication is. Yeah, hit the like button and subscribe. If you subscribe and stuff starts getting bad here, I'll be doing updates as live streams and you'll know about it. So, somebody keeps calling me a trash can. Just block them, that's all. You won't see them again. Okay, I got rid of the garbage. I could take questions if anybody has questions. I don't think I have prayer requests today. Let me look. I'm not thinking it. You know, and I had another scripture here. No, I don't have any prayer or toss requests today. So we're going to start getting more fireworks from America here in Israel, rest assured. Let me see if we got any new news since I started the broadcast, because it's been pretty soft with the news on Shabbat here in Israel. We don't get a whole lot. Here's a quote from Chuck Schumer yesterday. The United States will have no choice but to play a more active role in shaping Israeli policy by using our leverage to change the present course. Yep, they're sticking their finger in the apple of God's eye. Mm-hmm. Well, apparently Ukraine damaged another Russian oil refinery. I'm sure they're not going to like that. No, there's not that much going on in the news here. I think 2 days ago, McDonald's had big outages in many of their stores. Probably somebody hacked them or attacked them, trying to shake them down for money or something. I expect. You know, I don't know exactly what their motive was, but it was probably economic. Unless they just don't like red-headed clowns or something, you know. See what else is going on. Not much going on. When it comes to this kicking against Netanyahu, Biden is no match for wicked Netanyahu. There's going to be Biden's going to lose, and he's going to want to go after Netanyahu for blood. Okay, now we'll get a headline here that the security buffer zone in Gaza will be at least a half a mile wide. They were saying it was going to be 1 kilometer. Half a mile is not much different than a kilometer. I don't know what they're talking about. Under the age of 2 suffer malnutrition. Gaza's coming up with some more idiot, ceasefire proposals. Us releasing hundreds of murdering terrorists and stuff like that. They're trying to make believe they're winning the war, which is a joke. Their country's been devastated. How could they be winning the war? But stupid people believe stupid things. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. So we'll keep working on this with the great day of the Lord. All right, so I think our time is getting shorter and shorter. The beginning of the second 70 years in Daniel 9:24 would be when Yeshua appears in the clouds. See, it will begin with that, because that's the birth of the nation in a day. And the 70 years is going to be over when he returns, because that's the everlasting righteousness. That's when we never fall away again. So that's the start and the finish of the second 70 years. I don't know what date he's going to appear in the sky, okay? But it's going to be in the next, I think we got, I don't know, it's going to be very soon though, not going to be years, it may be a few months. The second Exodus is something that's going to happen in the year of redemption. That's not a year of recompenses situation. The punishment of the bad ones in Israel is a year of recompenses thing. Okay? Best for last, probably, huh? What I just told you. Okay. I got that from the Lord. So, I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife for peace, safety, protection, and joy. Offering information's in the description box of the video, in the chat. PayPal's the best for me by far. They take gazillions of different currencies. It's quick, easy, secure. Thank you for those that are giving offerings and those that are getting fed and enjoying the videos and not giving offerings. Enjoy your covetousness. I'm pretty sure you'll meet many people like this, but it's not going to be above the surface of the earth. If you think covetousness is a good thing, mammon is the root of all evil. It just brings more, it just feeds more evil. But God, do as you will. I'm not going to sit here. I mean, you can call me a Copeland and a Hagen and all that stuff, but it's not going to change the fact you're covetous. If you're not getting fed and you think I'm an idiot, obviously you're not going to give me money. I don't expect that. Okay. Pray for our animals and pets, which are all rescues, that they be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray for the peace of Yerushalayim. Pray for better videos. Pray we get to the bottom of this with the great day of the Lord thing, which is unresolved right now. But this is a good exercise. And that's what I got for now. And I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out.